Peter, welcome. Can we kick off this interview by first covering the recent merger between Shifteo and AOE? I mean, what additional strengths does this bring to the new company that's been formed, Omnevo?
Peter, hi. Yes, it's an interesting question. First, I have to say I'm very happy because with this merger, we as ex-Shifteo having now a tool which we've been dreaming of for the last 24 months. It's e-commercing. Omnevo brings together two specialists, and I think solid specialists in each field. AOE, which is OEM-free product, on the e-commercing, and then Shifteo on, I think, concentrating more on the onboard retailing, focusing on supply chain, distribution, controlling, and of course, as mentioned, onboard retailing. So yes, what it brings to the market, I think, is the first player on the market to truly have an end-to-end, I would call it also omni-channel retail solution.
It brings together a great pedigree of clients as well.
Peter, yes, because one of the biggest one, I think, is of course Singapore with its Chris shop. I was astonished when Kian told me at that time how many transactions they are doing, even during COVID time. But also like Fraport, as well as Auckland Airport. AOE has a solid base in airport retailing as well. I think it's also something that is new for us. And yes, and from Shifteo, I think we can say that we have also some famous customers, such as being able to retail on SNCF trains, which is the French state train company, as well as Deutsche Bahn in Germany or in Portugal. And of course, some airlines also have in France. So yes, I think both companies have a solid track record, proven that our system is, let's say, performing well.
Well, moving on, I want to focus on airlines, trains and airports and all the elements of retail that go therein. I mean, from an operational standpoint, how many similarities and differences are there in terms of the setup? I mean, you're basically targeting all three categories.
From an operational point of view, there is not much difference. We need to have, I would say in our language, schedule. We would need to have products. We would need to have frequencies. And we would need to have, I would say, we call it a catalog. In all three areas, it's the same from a operational point of view. From a management point of view, it might be a little bit different because depending of what is your operational management need. I would give you an example. On the train sector, our customers have their crew members within their teams. So where airline customers very often outsource their retail program to third party, and meaning that the crew would be the staff of the airline. So we have also some modules in our system that are focused on management, for example, HR planification, communication with the crews, providing standard procedures, let's say to digitalize operational focused HR procedures. Beside that, there are actually no difference if we have to put products on board of a train, on board of a plane, to get products purchased at an airport, at a retailer shop, or to get products purchased at a train station, or get products delivered at home. It's all about a proper logistics system, and that's what our system is providing.
If you could then offer a critique of the current setup, what would it be? I mean, what are the key main pain points?
Yeah. What we find out by talking to some customers mainly on airlines is that we found out that those companies are working in silos. I think for many time now. So it would be one service or one department being in charge of the in-flight catering, having the in-flight catering system, and would have a service that would do for marketing and also for example, the passengers information. They have their own system. The complexity by having one single system, the complexity of having various systems is that the outcome of it is vague and not centralized and focused. So it was important for us to have one single system, indeed having specialization for every single sector of the departments if they want to, but at least that all the data is maintained in one single system, and you can derive, of course, analytics and I think information that might be useful for the global activity.
So no mutual exclusivity, no staying in silos. That's just taken out of the mix completely, correct?
That's right. And the fact is that then those departments or those services also can, I think, work closely much faster together, and I think much more competent together, because basically if you have one single entry point of data and information, I think you save time. But also I think, unfortunately, by the present time, machine learning and I think IT tools also can provide you, I think, information in a much clearer and much faster way than actually providing that by yourself or by your own input.
So basically, operating in silos, as these businesses have traditionally been, is obviously a challenge, and a costly one at that. So let's just go back and look at Omnevo's solution. How unique is it in real terms, and how does it differ from what's in the market currently? Is it just a question of your one-stop shop, your end-to-end platform, as opposed to multi-layers of platforms? Is it really as simple as that?
It's actually quite simple. The advantage of our system is that it's modular. I'm a big defender to say that the best running system is a complete system. But of course, we also see that some airlines have legacy systems that I might want to use still now and maybe change later on. So yes, I think the big force we have is that our system can interact with various other systems. And then also I think the simplicity we have is that it's very user-friendly, it's very ergonomic. If I talk, for example, on the onboard retailing part with our new EPOS systems, the system is actually built around ease of use for both parties. One, the seller, so it could be the crew member, but also the fulfiller. This could be a catering station, it could be a warehouse people that actually use the system. So basically, it's designed to make retailing easy and fun, I have to say.
Well, just a quick follow-up to that. What about your pricing position? Where are you on that?
Well, I have to say that we're also quite unique in this one. You know, we're changing the perspective on the market. Classically, we would say that we would take a monthly, a yearly submission fee. We would invoice various costs we would have to it. We would invoice some capex into it. And what we say today is that it's not needed. As mentioned earlier, for us, every business or every customer is a business partner. We bring a system to the partner, and of course the partner brings a retail program to it. So what we say in there is that we rather are focused on making it happening, making it a success, and that's why we also would like to have a revenue share. So basically what we say here is that we are ready to take also some risk when providing the system to an airline customer, but I think this risk can be, let's say, minimized by the system, by correctly implementing the system, by being fully transparent on both ways, and by pushing the retail program. And I think that's what we can do by doing that and having a revenue share.
Now, you covered the point already, and you talked about how every airline and airport, retailer, rail network have their own DNAs and their operational setups. Just how tailored can your response be? Or is it an issue of just one size fits all? I mean, this has often been a criticism of tech-led companies. There's simply not enough listening going on to address the client's real problems and create very tailored solutions. I mean, is this where you are at?
I think for both. I mean, the recent merger with Shifteo and with AOE's or M3 platform, I think we have the same DNA, first of all. Our system has been developed for a customer. So I think, as you mentioned, listening is very important in that field. And I think that for Shifteo part, I can tell you that we have listened for the last 5 years on our customers. And the system didn't get where it is today in one night or in a single day. But it has been done progressively by actually exploring every single operational, ethical need that an airline might have, or customers, the same way also AOE did that with its own fleet platform. So yes, I would say that the system today is at 90% standard, because I think we already explored most of the various situations that you could be in the retailing, both on e-commercing and onboarding and logistics and supply chain, etc. And yes, indeed, I think the strength also is to listen to our customers, and in case there should be a special need, minor modification that might actually enhance the retail program for our customer, we of course will do it.
So what then do you think are the key criteria necessary to successfully implement your tools of trade? What are your expectations of your clients?
data is the most important driver in this one. And what we find out is that, yes, indeed, we need data. We need the ability to interconnect with existing, I will talk now about airline customers, about passenger figures, booking information, important information as well, such as loyalty programs. I give an example. The system that has been implemented by Omnevo in the past by Singapore Cruise Shop, the passengers can use a loyalty program and also can earn the loyalty miles. Very often you can actually just earn it, but I think for customers also very important to earn them. So I would say that have a clear partnership approach with these airlines in order to ensure that we can get the information the system might need to enable to strengthen the retail program for them.
Can you just drill down in terms of the system? You're talking about transparency. You're talking about genuine partnership. There's an open dialogue. You're talking about them opening up in terms of supply chain and so on and so forth. What are the other elements in the mix that determine something that is truly going to work for them?
I think it's also a business model, Peter, because it's also quite important. We have decided strategically not to go into a standard model that most of our competition has, meaning into a standard monthly, annual submission fee in capex, in investments, etc. What we said is that we need to work as a partnership with the airline. So we are ready also to invest in our system, invest in their system, and by investing in a program we might believe in, it's important that we have full transparency from our system and our data and towards the airline data, and to have that exchange. So we want to change from having a relationship between supplier and client. It's really a relationship between partners. If the data we receive and the information we receive and the input that brings into the system and the way the system is maintained, in the way that we are continuously improving the system, the outcome will be just positive for both sides. So I think the big difference here is that there's a real incentive for us, and also to expand that system in all various facets that it can have, as you mentioned, having the supply chain, having the logistics, having the material planning, having the financial data, so actually there's no boundaries into the system. As mentioned, I'm a quite big fan of a complete setup, but of course also we are able to make small modules. But I think that's the biggest difference we have, is a partnership approach. It's not just a quick win for us. It's a long-term investment like you do with airlines.
What about timelines, for example? I mean, how much time does it take? I know every single business is going to be different, and there's probably no average timeline. But in real terms, can you work your model whilst the old model is still operational? Can they run they can run in parallel?
They could run in parallel some of the existing systems. From a time frame, I would say, we recently started the company in England. We took 2.5 weeks to start up, but this was one of the modules. So we were talking about a smaller POS system and a product management tool. If you want to have the full suite, I would reckon 2 to 3 months, but all depend on the data we get. And all depend also on the input our customer can provide us and the access to data. We have to create new APIs. Is it just interlinking some information? Is it up to up? So it's a lot of technical matters that also might interfere. But I would say it will take you 2 months to have up and running a decent system. And then to roll out the other application, I would say up to 3-4 months maximum.
Okay. One final question. If there's one thing that you wanted to say to the viewing audience that underpins what's good for them and what's unique about Omnevo, what would it be?
The recent days shows that it's time to have a change, and we see that airlines also change. We also see that concept on board airlines changes. How people are consuming on board will change as well. And I think it's also time to change partnership. And I think it's also time to look into the future in which digitalization will play a bigger and a bigger role. And I think we would be the perfect partner to accompany these airlines and these operators for the change that will come up. And we are ready, and we are really much looking forward.